have saved.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andy.
That's not enough.
Yep.
They put it by the Christmas. All right. Protection and Welfare Committee will come to order. We'll note all members are present. Alderman Weary, Alderman Duane, Alderman Stoyer, Alderman Scannell. And can I have an approval of the agenda?
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Duane, second by Alderman Stoyer to approve. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 3 is an approval of the minutes from November 16th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Duane. Discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, request by Alderman Weir to review with possible action Oval Office's liquor and adult entertainment license due to potential illegal activity off-site October 18th. No.
4, yeah.
Anyone here for 4? Didn't mean to skip your...
What is that,
I
Applebee's?
jumped right in.
Is it the Applebee?
Yes.
That's me.
Yep. Number 4, notice of the change of agent for Apple Hospitality Group LLC, 2420 East Mason. 30?
No objection from the law department.
Captain?
No objections from the police department.
Motion to accept.
Second. Motion by Alderman Stoyer, second by Alderman Duane to approve. Discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Everything we do here today goes to council next week. It's next Tuesday. So it's our recommendation unanimously to approve it. So,
Okay.
thank you.
I can,
Thanks. All right, number 5, request by Alderman Weir to review Oval Office liquor license. And Attorney, did you have the letter?
I did, I provided copies.
Oh, okay. Well, that was perfect. For this item, I was made aware by someone in the area of, I think it was in the Entertainer, actually, towards the back page, the Packer Party with the free beer and Bloody Marys for all our friends. That means you, 500 parking spots available. So obviously that caused some concern. They asked me to look into it, and I asked the Schwabenon about it. And they mentioned that the year prior they had the same thing happening, and they basically sent a warning letter to them, and it stopped. And then a year later it surfaced in our area. Now, from what I'm hearing from our police department, there was no adult entertainment. It was mainly the alcohol. And since the letter went out, I don't believe there's been any violations that I know of. I don't know, Captain, if you...
None, we had no other violations since the letter went out.
So at this point, I think because they're following what they're supposed to be, I think it would be wise just to receive it and place it on file. I know they might be here if they wanted to take any questions or...
I mean, yeah, I think they're here, and I'd make a motion to open the floor.
Motion by Alderman Stoyer, second by Alderman Scannell, open the floor. Interested parties, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Anyone here for number 5?
Yes,
All right.
Okay.
Just need your name and address, please.
Jennifer DeCaster, 3211 Tuckaway Court, Green Bay, Wisconsin, 54301.
Mr. Castor.
I'm wondering if you can tell me first what authority you brought us here under.
Did you have any comments about the...
That is, yes, I have comments, and
Okay.
I
I'll
have...
gladly take any comments. I'm not here to answer questions.
So, okay, well then let's go with this. Here are my comments. I am concerned that there was no due diligence done before we were brought here today. I am concerned that at no time was anyone outside of a friend served at this, and I don't believe that there is any information you can provide otherwise. I don't believe we violated the law. I believe that this is merely an attack by Alderman Weary on me and my family because he is upset about the fact that we own property by Lambeau and we haven't told anybody what in fact we were doing with that property until now. And I have to tell you, we have had zero communication with Alderman Weary. Rather than coming and trying to talk with us and ask us questions with respect to what it is we're doing, he just continues to embark on this witch hunt against my facility. And it's quite frustrating to us. And therefore, because he puts out in public that we have potentially violated our adult entertainment license, that means that he is coming after us and it's a First Amendment issue because it's an adult entertainment. These kinds of possible actions we do not take lightly. We run our business very tight. We don't have any issues with the way our business has been run, and it's incredibly frustrating to have to be here tonight when I could be home with my children for something to be tabled or put on file when there is absolutely no evidence whatsoever, no due diligence, except for an article or an ad he is asserting is what violated our licenses. And that is upsetting. And if people want to know what we planned on doing with that property, they should ask us. But unfortunately, until this stops, with you, Mr. Weary, coming after my family all the time.
Well, I think, Mr.
we-
Castor, if you could stick to the item on hand, this isn't
Well-
about zoning or rezoning, this is about the free alcohol at the party. That
Yes.
clearly violated state law.
No,
Yes.
you have clear
If you could-
violation?
If you could just address that.
Well, I would like to say then that I think it would be advantageous to hear what evidence you have that I violated the law. And we'll leave it at that for now.
Okay. Fair enough. Anyone else here for this item? Any questions from Mr. Castor?
No, I'd like to, we may open it again, but I'd like to ask
Okay.
questions of Art, please.
Anyone else? Okay, without objection, we'll close the floor. And Attorney, I know you had crafted the letter based off of information we received from the state, actually from Rick Ulig, the Special Agent for Alcohol and Tobacco. He's pretty well informed on this, and he explained what happened in the Schwabenon as well, and it was pretty clear that this type of activity wasn't legal. And I think that's what you based your letter off of, correct?
Sure, and the letter was just sort of a preemptive, warning type thing. We did not have anybody out at the party on the 18th. We don't know exactly what happened, so we did send a letter just kind of reiterating that it is prohibited to serve alcohol to the public, to give it away for free if there is no liquor license on scene and you can't give it away for free in order to circumvent those laws. So again, it was just, type of a warning letter. I know they might have received one from Ashwaubenon, but that doesn't really have anything to do with the city of Green Bay. So we did send the letter. The best I can tell you is that, we have no complaints since.
As far as we know, they've been in compliance.
Yeah, we didn't respond on the 18th. Actually, our manpower on the day of games is centered around the stadium, so we didn't have anybody out there to prove or disprove whether or not the party went on or alcohol was served. The only thing that we had was the letter and the ad in the paper, but we had no enforcement there, and we didn't even get a guy out there on the 18th.
But since that date?
We
haven't
have
had
checked,
any
and,
complaints.
yeah, we haven't, no
Okay.
complaints.
Alderman Strayer?
Well, that was one of my questions as far as have you checked since? And I'm going to want to ask Mr. Castor a question in a minute based on that, so I have no more questions.
All right, well, without objection, we'll open the floor, and you can go ahead.
Okay.
Well, Alderman Wisbisky, before we open the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a little bit confused here. What's the connection between Ashwaubenon and Green Bay on this issue?
At one point, last year, Oval Office had a location in Ashwaubenon, and they did the same thing. And Ashwaubenon warned them, hey, you can't do this, it's against the law. So they picked up stakes and moved to Green Bay.
But in this particular case, there's no split responsibility. It's just a city of Green Bay issue with this property.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just confused as to
Yeah.
why we're getting tangled up with two jurisdictions.
No.
Thank you.
Sure. All right,
Okay.
without objection, we'll open the floor. Alderman Strayer?
Yes, Mr. Castor. I've been following this a little bit as well. In fact, my wife and I went to the game that day. We were thinking of swinging by just to see what was going on, more or less just for interest as far as, all the way around. Sir?
Sir, you
Sir.
can, if you have a, sir?
Sir?
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. So you listed this as a Packer party, and, you know, I've been to many tailgate parties at Lambeau. And normally, you know, if you have a party, you know, you'll have food and drink, et cetera, amongst your friends. Now, this was, you had this on your private on your establishment, correct? Okay. So you listed it as Packer party. Now, you know, I have a little hard time equating or figuring out the intent here. My thought, you know, I listened to our attorney on this, and the fact is that you don't have a liquor license for this type of event. I could see if it's a tailgate party where food and drink is provided and there's no, it's just a gathering, that's one thing. But where is that line? We feel that the line may have been crossed there, and we're just trying to get that in our mind's eye as far as this, you know, giving beer, giving alcohol at a party on your private property or on your commercial property. How is that different than just a normal tailgate party that somebody would have at the stadium?
It wasn't any different than a normal tailgate party, sir. It was a tailgate party for our friends. We were not open to the public. And with respect to the allegations with Ashwaubenon, I do have emails from Rick that you reference. There was never a determination that we were in violation there either. However, the weather did get bad and we stopped having the parties for the year. So the assertion that Rick says what we did is illegal is not correct, and I do have emails showing that. So, but as
Okay.
far as we are concerned, we did nothing improper because we did not provide alcohol to the public. We provided alcohol to friends of ours and business associates that came to our party.
The question I had though, if that's the case, I mean, you would think that you would invite your friends via email or phone call, that type of thing, but to have it in the entertainer. When you have something in the entertainer, that opens it up to whoever. I always gotta swing by and take a look at that. Am I considered a friend? We haven't met.
Well,
But,
I
you know,
think that would.
that's a fine line.
It absolutely is a fine line, and I
Right.
think that multiple tailgates run that fine line every time there's tailgate parties. But I believe that right now, this is an issue because we have an adult entertainment license, and that's why we're being targeted. Because I don't hear any question with respect to serving free alcohol to random passerbys that are not friends. And the law is quite clear that in order to give away free alcohol, they have to be friends. They cannot be to the public. And I don't believe, and if you see very clearly on that ad, I reminded, it is a notice to my friends to please come to our party.
Well, like I said, I think that's one of the issues that I'm having a little hard time wrapping around, because I've gone-
Absolutely.
So you can understand where some of that confusion comes in. As far as, you know, the adult entertainment, et cetera, we realize you have a place on Main Street, and we know that you have a license, et cetera, for that, and that's one thing. But this is another deal, and I do have concern about that. And I do not consider this, as you say, a witch hunt. You know, I think it's important to know that we're looking at this very carefully. You know, we need to know that it has to be consistent all the way through. So you know, I have no skin in the game that way. You know, we're just representing the city, and we're looking at the safety and responsibility that we feel that should be out there.
Well, I would have absolutely no issue with sitting down with you and any other member of council that would want to direct us into what would be deemed admissible or legal type parties so that we can continue to use our porta party and do it in a fashion that wouldn't make you feel uncomfortable, because that is of utmost importance to us. I mean, we've been a part of this city
Right,
for
right.
100+ years.
I understand.
So it's important for us, if
Right.
we had a violation, trust me, the first thing I would want to do is remedy it. And if you can guide us in how you feel it would be a better way to be able to have a tailgate party on my private property, I would love to adhere to that.
Before, okay, with that being said, was this the first time that you have done this?
At that particular
Yes.
property, yes.
So when you put this together and thought about it, or did you think of any of the liabilities or possible legal ramifications of that, or did you just go ahead and say, yep, this is a great idea, let's go do it?
No, we absolutely, I had worked with Rick in the past, with the Department of Revenue. I had certainly had some conversations with Allison over at the Village of Ashwaubenon. I did my research, I did address different attorneys in my industry that did advise us on what we can and cannot do. And so we moved forward with the last nice weekend to have one party for our friends. Would we like to do that in the future? Yes, but that site will most likely be under construction.
So the police, captain mentioned that, he's checked back at this and you haven't had this since. So was this a one-shot deal? Or is
Yeah,
this
we only
something-
intended to do it once this year because it takes a lot for setup to be able to bring that porta potty out there, to set it up and to plan and to have everything done accordingly. And so our intent was to do it once this year and then potentially later in the next season do more. But unfortunately, we have other business in other states and a good chunk of my staff that operate the tailgate party, because my sister, all of us as family actually operate the tailgate party. And we had too many people out of state for the remainder of the season. So that was our one shot for this season.
Well, I think that's all I have for now, but that was my major concern, just seeing it in the entertainer. Like I said, I know you're an establishment, a commercial business, but, you would think there might be other ways to contact the people. That's just my one concern that I have with this, and we'll keep it going on that, but I have no further questions.
Thanks, Alderman Dwayne. Hi, Kristen, thanks for coming in.
Jennifer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, she's Kristen. Jennifer, it's all right. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
On this day, about how much alcohol did you give away and monetarily? What it cost you?
Oh, hardly. It really wasn't a large get-together because we did put it on Facebook, and of course all of our family and friends knew, so they all came out. But I mean, do you think 300 max? If $300 in alcohol and food, maybe 150 in food,
Okay.
really not much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alderman Rozbicki?
Got another good question for you. It's my understanding that I've heard people say that these tailgate parties are okay as long as they're friends. Now, is that the loophole here? I mean, it's almost like parking on the lawn in the whole city of Green Bay at Packard Day because all other ordinances are abolished. But I heard the statement made that friends are free, but not everyone, so then it's okay. Is that true? Does anybody here know the answer to that?
I'm gonna hold that for when we're back up here, Jerry, unless that's a
Okay,
question.
yeah, maybe
Okay,
legal
I
thing,
appreciate
but
it.
I have a question on that.
All right.
If that's true, wow, I see a lot of that going on, but that's probably what justifies all the other tailgate parties, they're all friends.
Thanks, Alderman.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Alderman Scannell?
No questions.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to comment? All right, without objection, we'll close the floor.
Okay.
And I think it was just pretty clear here. They received an order right in the paper to cease and desist, and they did. So, I don't know about talking about what you can or can't do. It's pretty clear, cease and desist, so. Any
Illegal
comments on that, I
activity.
guess ask our city attorney, but any person in the public who sees, this advertised on Facebook and an entertainer is gonna know this isn't for friends. It's for one, anybody come, get your free drinks, so. I was made aware of this by some people in the area, some business owners and residents, and I told them I'd look into it, and we did, and it sounds like it's been resolved. So I hope we don't have any further issues.
Chris? With, Mr. Castor brought up a point of, in the future, how not only her establishment, but any establishment that might want to do something like this. Is there anything that we, have in place, and I can throw this?
Sure. And I think that goes with Alderman Wisbicki was asking,
Is-
well, if you meet
well, is-
somebody for the first time, if they're your friend,
Is
you
there?
know, I want to pay to park here, now you're my best buddy.
Yeah, it just seems like there's some gray area in that. So I would like to tighten that up a little bit. If we could look at that, I mean, I'd be willing to take a further look, not only for this establishment, but for anybody in Green Bay that would be,
That's something we could refer to staff
Yes.
to research?
yes, I would like to refer that to staff, just to see what options we might have with that. And it might be just a matter of adding a line or two in an ordinance or something to that effect, but I would like to have that looked at.
There's a motion by Alderman Steuer to refer this to staff to research further. Is there a second to that?
No? No,
Guys,
sir?
for lack of a second.
No?
No, I think it may very well be a loophole, but I think from a practical standpoint, if it is a loophole, how would you enforce that? How would you monitor that? It would be impossible. The Panther parties going on all around the stadium there, I think it'd be a monstrous undertaking and completely not practical at all. For receiving and placing this on file, I can appreciate Jennifer's concern. I think the way it's worded in our agenda here, it is a little heavy-handed with a review with possible action for their liquor license when there was actually no foundation of evidence and facts. I think we could certainly investigate, but I think it's unfortunate the way we ended up wording our item here, and I appreciate that. But I hope you can understand where we were concerned, why we wanted to look into it, and but I believe we're good, and I'm all for receiving and placing this on file.
Motion by Alderman Scannell, second place on file, second by Alderman Dwayne. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I'm opposed.
Opposed? Okay. 3-1, just with Alderman Steuer poison. Okay.
One.
Number 6, request by Alderman Weary and Alderman Nicholson for the city of Green Bay to create its own campaign finance ordinance. See Alderman Nicholson's here. This is one. And Alderman Nicholson can speak for himself on this as well, but I think it's all about transparency and accountability. You know, when we were going through the issue that we're running through right now with the mayor and his campaign finance, our clerk many times would turn to the GAB, and the GAB would turn it back to the clerk, and it would go back and forth, and the GAB would say, well, this is kind of, we handle more of the state issues. We were trying to draft something that empowers our clerk and gives us the ability to perhaps look at campaign checks and things of that nature. And really, what I would look to do is to refer this to staff to work with myself and Alder Nicholson and to bring it back. In talking with the GAB, they saw no reason why we couldn't do our own. I said, there's no reason why you can't, so I'd like to just look into that a little further. Alderman Nicholson, did you have anything else to add to that?
No, you basically summed it all up. So what is the procedure on this, to refer this to staff then?
I think so, and then, staff can work with us. And
I mean, basically, this is for any type of politician that's connected to the city of Green Bay, just not one position.
No, it would be
But
for,
we must have, if you look at the public, when people are complaining about the federal government, they're receiving all this money and there's no accountability, you look at the state, it does funnel down to the local level also. We should be all accountable, and, basically, there's rules in place, and we should follow the rules. Now, if it takes an ordinance like this to enforce it, yeah, I'm all for it. We need accountability. We're always talking about accountability to our local level politicians, and, this is just another step in the right direction. So, yeah.
thank you, Alderman Wisbicki.
Well, again, you guys, was confusing the heck out of me here a little bit, right?
That's okay.
I file
Stay confused.
according to the laws that are in place on my campaign funding. I have a campaign manager and everything. How is,
One second, Jerry. We're just making sure the door's open. I think you have to keep it open, Mark.
Even a crack
Mm-hmm.
all the way?
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Gets stuffy here anyway.
I think it's too loud.
so,
Go ahead, thanks.
and I guess according to state rules and statutes is how we do that. You know, they got it all laid out when you actually fill out your GV form, basically.
But who enforces it, Mr. Chairman? We all know that, Jerry, but who enforces it? When someone breaks the law, who enforces it? The state basically is not enforcing it. So it looks like, I mean, I look at it as overlooking our own, cleaning our own wash here.
Well,
Because the state's not doesn't do anything.
yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Oh, certainly, yeah, go ahead, Alderman.
Unless you can give me examples what the state's been doing.
Well, the issue that I have with this now, as you mentioned, having our own ordinance. And is everybody here aware of the way we actually enforce ordinances in the city of Green Bay? By infractions. So what are we gaining by putting that on something else when basically it's gonna be probably less enforcement? Unless somebody really brings it up. And if you bring it up right now to the state, it's gonna be enforced, I would imagine, because why do we have it?
No, you're totally wrong. I brought issues up to the state for the last 14 years, and there is no accountability in our Department of Accountability. It's a joke. That's why basically issues should be brought to the DA's office to actually have some type of accountability and paper trail. And, I mean, so there's actually someone overlooking it. So they'll be able to, you bring it to the DA's office in Brown County, well, they'll say, okay, they'll have to push it to another DA's office because of conflict of interest. That's basic. Jerry, I've been doing this for 14 years. There's no accountability with the state of Wisconsin. You have to bring it to the DA's office. But the DA is basically want to know what's, is there anything in place? So to me, that's another tool for the DA to use.
That is a truism, I agree with that, because anything that does come up in infractions as far as filling out the papers, getting the signatures, doing all that, has to be reported and go to the DA's office, so, okay, I'm with it. Thank you.
I know there's someone here too, if we can take your comments first, Alderman Strayer.
Should we do, oh,
Whichever
well,
way.
I mean, some good points there, and you talk about the government accountability board, and the word accountability is very important, and I do have some concern that way as well, as trying to find out if there is an infraction, locally, we really have our hands tied, it seems. So you go to the legal process, that seems to be one route to go, but it doesn't seem to be, unless I'm missing something, there may have been some other events where other politicians or such have gotten in trouble for various things. But I don't know if anybody can bring any of that forward. I don't know of any. So there seems to be some holes there. That's all I've got right now.
Thanks, Alderman Strayer. Without objection,
Well,
I'll open the floor unless you have it.
No, so we can open the floor, I can speak after.
There, second. All right. Those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Floor is open. Anyone here for this item? Anyone, just give me your name and address, please.
Janet Angus, 1403 Shirley Street, Green Bay, Wisconsin is my home address. I think what would answer your question is the process that's involved on the local level. And I think if you do some investigation into it, you will find that when you file your papers, you file to the clerk, and the clerk has no duty to look at what you file. They don't have any duty to inspect. She has no duty to interpret or to look at what is filed. So unless at the local level you have someone of interest, like myself, when I went down and did a Freedom of Information request, which is right here, unless you have somebody who wants to go through all those documents, you have nothing at the local level. when you talk to the Government Accountability Board, all they do is review state. They do not look at anything locally. And when you have a complaint that you want to file with the Government Accountability Board, their process is, you know what, you have to go to the DA. We don't handle it here. It's not part of our job. It's not part of what we do. So you go to the DA with an infraction, with problems, all kinds of problems, and our wonderful DA ships it off to Milwaukee. And then you wait for a year before any of this can be addressed, before the electorate can know about these infractions and what happens. And you know what? If I did this, what I have in my hand, with my attorney trust account for my law practice, I would have severe problems with the bad lawyer board, with the Board of Professional Conduct, of what I investigated on this one particular instance. There is no accountability at the local level. And unless you guys do something about it, there isn't going to be. Unless somebody wants to stop Alderman Nicholson from running for office and they find out that he did something inappropriate and that gets out into the media, but it's going to take somebody, either a citizen, an alderman, or somebody to go through all of those records and look at them. Because the clerk has no duty to do that. All she has is the duty is to take the stuff and keep it on file. No duty to interpret, no duty to look at, no duty at all to look at it. It's true. Here's the statute. You want to read the Wisconsin state statute? And call the government.
Attorney.
Call the
You
government.
gotta talk to us.
Yeah.
Call the Government Accountability Board and find out. That's why, in my opinion, as far as the local elections go, you have no accountability. Why even have the statute? Because it doesn't matter.
You mind taking a question? Alderman Story, did you have one?
Yes,
Yes, Story, then Alderman Wayne.
Ms. Angus, thank you for coming in. You've been looking at some of this for quite some time, haven't you? I mean,
Yes.
not just for this particular issue, but you've been dealing with this for how long? You know, let's say
A year?
a year?
Yes. Since I think January 16th of 2015.
So you feel that there's some legitimacy to some of the things that Alderman Nicholson's bringing forward?
Absolutely.
Okay. You can see how frustrating it is for us, though, too, at a local level, that we don't have the power per se. I don't know, it seems like it's more of a state issue, but I don't know, unless I'm missing something here. It just seems like if there is an infraction, that a lot of times it will go through channels, it'll go through the DA's office, what have you, and then you wait. And it's not only on this issue, but other issues as well. And that just, once it's into the legal system, that's out of our hands.
Not if you have an ordinance to stop it. Not if you have an ordinance that says when people file things that the documents they file are going to be looked at and interpreted by someone. Right now, if we hadn't gone down and requested these documents, if I hadn't paid for them and looked through them, you'd have no knowledge that any of these violations occurred. So why have the statute? Why have the law? And when people complain about it, you don't do anything about it. Nothing's done. So as somebody in the public that is supposed to be protected by these statutes from people running for office, taking too much money from various people, you know, as far as our campaign financing laws go, if they're not going to be adhered to, why have them? There's no accountability.
Do you feel this is an issue not only in this state, but other areas as well, in your experience?
As far as in this
Well,
state,
just, right, I mean, with some of your research that you've done, I mean, you're looking pretty much at the state of Wisconsin on this?
I've only addressed the Government Accountability Board
Point
of
of
the
order, Mr.
state.
Chairman, let's keep it in Green Bay, I mean,
Yeah, I
who
guess
cares
so.
what Minnesota and
All
California
right,
does?
all right.
That's
Or
fine,
even
thank you.
Chicago, I don't care less. There's absolutely, I mean, we could talk about Chicago, I did a paper on Mayor Daley. I mean, we could talk about Mayor Daley.
All right.
Alderman, you're
I mean,
correct.
come on.
Yeah, if we could just keep the minutes in there, that'd be.
All right, let's stick with Green Bay. Thank you. I have no more questions.
Alderman Wayne? And then Alderman.
I agree that there is a state statute and we should do something local. I don't think it'll be effective local because the mayor's the head of the city. I believe this is all about the mayor's campaign. Is that what this is about?
No,
I mean,
no, it's holding the local politicians accountable.
okay, wasn't there some information sent to a Milwaukee DA?
Yes,
Did anything come back?
it's still
No
under
fe-
investigation.
No feedback at all?
Nothing, well, there's been some feedback, but it's, what I understand, it's still under investigation.
Let me ask you a question.
Attorney,
Yeah, do you have any questions? for-
Yes.
Okay.
how long does an investigation take with something like this?
I think it's up to the prosecutor. I think there can be short investigations, and I think there can be long investigations, and I think in this case, a year is a long time. I mean, you've got all the documentation, all the records are sitting there, he has the power to, the district attorney in Milwaukee has the power of the subpoena, which I don't. I can't get at bank records, I can't look at things. I mean, you know, all we have is a bunch of records in this one particular instance that are filed by somebody that show that they took funds, at least I think, my interpretation of them. But my interpretation is limited because I don't have the power of the subpoena unless you file a civil claim. Now, after the district attorney goes ahead and does that under the state statute, there is an opportunity to file a civil claim in civil court to do something about the accountability of our elected officials. And maybe someone should do that in Green Bay. I don't know.
Well, Attorney,
I know that it's not gonna happen if you file a complaint with the Government Accountability Board, because they
well,
do
they're trying to
nothing.
do away with that department, but you and anybody in this room probably knows that this is in a vault on the bottom of the stack, and that's where it's staying, I guarantee it.
Anything else, Alderman Dwayne?
That's it.
Alderman Zabiskie?
I would just like to add that a couple of the items that you're bringing up, I have experienced myself. And one was dollars. And I will assure you, as an elected official, that our clerk's office is definitely going through the paperwork. And as a matter of fact, I have just experienced that point by point in the last couple of days. I've spent a lot of time down at City Hall. You write down the page numbers, write down the dates, and simple little errors. She does go through those before she gives you a receipt back and before you can proceed. And in one instance, I did get caught up in the financial aspect of it where I had donations. And I had to go to the people because it was over and above the amount of dollars that you get from any individual, and have them, give them the money back and have them as individuals, man and wife, write separate checks or something to get it through. But I will assure you that I have experienced nothing but satisfaction with the clerk's office and doing their job.
Alderman Zabiskie, did you have any questions for?
No, I
Hussein?
have
Oh,
not,
okay.
no. I thought the floor was closed.
No, not yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right, that's all right.
I missed it.
Any questions for Hussein? Anything else, Janet? Okay. Anyone else on this topic?
Motion to close the floor.
Objection, will close the floor. Under this item, I think right now, it would be just be wise to work with staff and Alderman Nicholson and myself and see what we even can do. Maybe we'll find out the state wants to keep it all in their paws and not really do much about it and not let us do anything about it. Or maybe they'll let us give the clerk some more enforcement action. You know, why can't copies of checks be available to the public if they want to see it? If there's a question about a check, yeah, I think that's a corporate check. Why shouldn't the clerk be able to get it? Or why shouldn't it be just on file right away? These are questions I think we can get answered.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I got a question. Corporate checks, are those illegal or are those
Yes.
legal?
Pretty much illegal.
Pardon?
They're illegal.
They're very
They're
illegal.
illegal. Corporate checks.
Yeah.
This meeting's recorded, right? Corporate checks are illegal, correct? There's no dollar amount to a corporate check, correct?
No.
Okay, why didn't our clerk then look at the corporate checks on certain politicians that were
Well, I think
available on
The
record?
problem is the clerk doesn't look at the checks. They only see
Well, I
what's written
heard
down on the paper.
a minute ago that she does.
No,
Oh, she doesn't?
no.
Okay. I just want that stated for the record. Does she or doesn't she look at the checks that are recorded?
The
She
paper.
does not?
No.
Okay,
Those aren't even submitted.
all right. Okay.
Okay, yeah. I'm all for referring this to staff. I see, I don't know if much can come for it, if anything, I see all kinds of practical problems, but you know, if you can come up with something, fine, if you know, good luck. You know, there's always problems, it'd be great if we could get a handle on them, but I'm not sure from a practical level, who would oversee this and how it'd be overseen, and you know, I don't know if it's gonna be doable, but good luck. So,
Well,
I
think-
have no problem referring it to staff.
Mr. Chairman, I think the city council can clean their own wash. I think
It's
we
the
can
city-
overlook
but
it.
who on the
and
city
bring-
council would,
And bring it to
Alderman-
the
I'm sorry,
ethics
give the
board.
floor.
no,
I mean, we could bring it to the ethics board, we can impound financial penalties, just like the code of conduct, can't we? We did it with code of conduct, I think this is more serious.
Absolutely.
right,
I think
but,
this is very serious.
but
Alright,
who,
Alderman.
who on the council would, with every election, go through all financial statements, all the records? I mean, that's a huge task.
Have a committee.
I tell you what,
And
I've already done it.
especially
Randy, I've already done it.
for every election, you're gonna do
Not every
that.
election,
But
but I
we have
went
this
quite
ordinance.
I went quite a
Thank you,
bit.
gentlemen.
People, will the committee
Gentlemen.
please take over the meeting?
Okay.
I'm just saying,
They had a healthy
I think there's some
discussion, that's fine.
problems that might be very difficult to work out. If you can work them out, but I think it's gonna be difficult and not very practical in all
We
probability,
might
but
find some
That's-
problems.
that's-
Agreed, Alderman Scannell, there's more questions than answers, but
Yep.
right now,
that's why I have no problem referring it to staff and,
We'll find
you know,
out.
you guys go.
Alderman,
but, you know,
Is that your motion?
Thank you.
Yes,
Um,
refer to staff, I'll make that motion.
Go with second.
okay, there's a motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Steuer to refer to staff to work with Alderman Nicholson and Alderman Weary under discussion, Alderman Dwayne.
And I would say, work on this as quickly as possible before they allow your dog Fluffy to vote or can't, give to your campaign contribution. That's,
What? Fluffy can't give a contribution?
All right, any other discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
How about Fifi?
Okay, number 7 is request by Alderman Zima for a thorough review of the taxi cab ordinance and Uber license to eliminate any differences in the two licenses. This we've had at our committee numerous times, and I think as we've seen with the state, they've pretty much taken over any licensing of Uber. I know Attorney, I don't think we have any wiggle room to do anything here.
That's pretty much correct. The state now regulates Uber and any similar type companies. It still gives us the power to regulate taxis and limousines and things like that, but as far as Uber goes and similar companies, we do not have any authority to regulate those. They're regulated by the state, they get licensed for the state, they go through background checks, but we pretty much are prohibited from regulating those.
In speaking with Alderman Zima, I'm not sure he was quite aware that the state was that restrictive, so yeah, I think he's fine with just receiving and placing a fountain.
Sure.
Otherwise, he would have been here and had some
I'll
comments,
make that
things for
motion.
us to do.
We could make the taxi laws equal to the transportation network, but they can just do that themselves already, because in effect, they would then be network transportation companies. So, yeah, there's really nothing. So, move to receive and place on file.
Chris,
Oh,
may I just ask a
question?
question?
Sorry.
Certainly, Alderman Steuer.
Kristen, Attorney, I just have a question. With, well, there's actually a few things. As far as Uber has licensing requirements. We can't, it's a separate, with the bill, the assembly bill, it's a separate deal. I mean, they're treated a little differently, I think, than in cab companies. I guess the question I have is, how do we regulate something like this? I realize that the state has regulation on TNCs. Now, we have our taxi cab ordinance. You know, I guess I'm getting complaints from cab companies where they're saying that, you know, that they feel that TNC drivers are soliciting fares at places like Lambeau Field, over at the mall, other places around town, and it basically it's supposed to be just a digital transaction and paid for electronically. So I guess that could be another nightmare as well, as far as trying to figure out how do you regulate that. Granted, it's a state law, you know, that kind of takes it out of our hands, but I think that's the question I get from some of the cab companies is that you got apples and oranges here. It seems like there's two different things. TNCs supposedly have zero tolerance policies. cab companies, do they have that as well? It's a separate item as well. So I've got many questions that I've written down, but if we receive and place on file, I was waiting for Alderman Zima maybe to come forward and talk more about this, but I was prepared to talk about it quite a bit more. It's just that we really cannot do anything locally.
Right, and the only department that can actually regulate Uber and departments or companies like that is the Department of Safety and Professional Services, which is a state department. So, even if our Green Bay Police Department tried to go out and say, were you soliciting, did you take cash, things like that, we really have no way of enforcing that. It has to be referred to the state, and that's kind of what they left us with.
Well, let's say in terms of enforcement, and Captain, maybe you could weigh in on that. If there was some kind of, something that was done, some felony, any kind of impropriety, what would happen? Would it rely to the sheriff's department, or would it be local? If they did something wrong, I mean, if there's any kind of traffic violation, then they would fall under the jurisdiction of yourself.
Yeah, a traffic violation would just be like any other person driving.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't
Okay.
change the fact that they're an Uber driver.
All right.
They're insured, and through Uber, when they have someone actually in their cab, it's up to $1 million. I've also heard that they don't take kindly to people getting traffic tickets when they do have a fare. They're
Right.
automatically kicked out of the Uber system, so
All right,
I
there's
think they
still-
regulate their own very well.
Sorry,
Okay.
perhaps I misspoke. The only things that we can't really regulate are the, clarifications of the Uber company. Certainly we can enforce any traffic laws, any kind of felony, any flee, anything. They would be punished just the same as anybody else, but it's mainly just the qualifications for the company that we as a city can't enforce.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
There's a motion by Alderman Scannell to receive and place on file.
Second.
By Alderman Dwayne, under discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 8, request by Alderman Nicholson to review with possible action the animal control policy that deals with traffic animals in the city of Green Bay. Alderman Nicholson.
Thank you. Thanks for basically holding this up so I could attend. Basically, the complaints that I've been receiving throughout the summer were skunk complaints. And the neighbors have been trapping their own skunks. Now, they're stating that these neighbors are getting old and they're not able to do it anymore physically. So I contacted our humane officer, and that person stated we don't do that. And I'm thinking, why not? Well, according to our humane officers, that they don't have the traps for them. So, okay, and I'm looking at these traps that the neighbors are using, they're all homemade. Basically, they're made or constructed where it keeps the tail down. Okay?
Oh.
And I'm just asking this committee if we could buy 2 traps for our humane officer. So we can start trapping skunks, which is basically a varmint, causes problems, just like a raccoon that we trap, and possum, and groundhogs, and other little creatures on this, in this city. So I'm just asking the city, or this committee, that we can buy 2 traps for our humane officer, so we can start trapping skunks.
Alderman Dwayne, did you have a question for Alderman Nicholson, or?
What would you like done with the skunks? A live trap type thing? And
I
Drop them off
guess
somewhere?
we'd have to refer this to our humane officer, see what kind of traps she would like. They are, I'm guessing they are live traps. They don't have to be. Whatever will trap a skunk at the most easiest convenience of the officer to alleviate the issue in the neighborhoods, so we can basically move forward.
Okay.
Officer Henson's here, so.
Can I just ask one quick question?
Sure, go ahead.
Andy, how
Alderman.
many of these have been trapped so far, to your knowledge, in your area? Any idea? Just a few?
In what time frame?
Well, I
20
don't.
years?
I'll say
Over
over
the
the
summer?
last year, the last year.
I can't answer that, I have to go
Okay.
back to the neighbors.
Okay.
Any other questions for Alderman Nicholson? Otherwise, I don't think we have to open the floor. Officer Henson's here. It's been a while. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Any feral cats?
Oh, always feral cats. Okay, what I've put together, and first and foremost, Andy, I love the fact you wrote with me, thank you.
Yep.
I wish most of you would, you have already. Okay, especially in the middle of the summer, and you would kind of understand what we run into. 12 years ago,
Thank
Animal Control never trapped any of the wildlife. We didn't go out and deal with injured, and we went and sat and talked with the wildlife sanctuary and agreed to go ahead and start trapping wildlife and helping them out with any of the injured. Okay? This took a huge burden off of them, and it was a better service to the city. So, have you got one?
I have one of those, yes,
Okay,
thanks.
so if you look at the first
Sharon
letter.
Dave needs one.
Oh, sure.
Sharon, may I have one?
Yeah, you can,
Keep track.
Okay.
All we need is a cat.
First, it's not the policy you want to change, okay? Because if you read it, your back pages talk about the policy. The policy is very specific. It says, Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources is responsible for wild animals and enforcing regulated laws. Property owners may be informed that they can write to the DNR about any wild animal causing damage that is not an imminent threat to the public. Imminent threat, raccoon coming at you in a garage, okay? Woodchuck coming at you. I've had muskrat babies chasing people in their garages into their cars. That's an imminent threat, okay? When wild animals pose an imminent threat to public health or safety, the ACO, ACI, and/or the department, ACO me, ACI intern, or the Department of Police, may assist citizens with wild animal incidents by providing alternative methods of removal other than trapping, which is what we do. Infestations of any vermin or animal pests will be referred to the Brown County Health Department. The reason that had to be put in is because I was getting requests to go up into attics and remove not one, not two, not three, but colonies of bats. Okay? That has to fall under the health department, it has to fall under exterminators. Skunks are not the one animals that come running up to you in a driveway. They stink, they dig a burrow, but they do not do nearly the amount of property damage that a woodchuck does. A woodchuck will burrow underneath a garage, literally, the cement, and start cracking it. I've seen them take down entire front yards, okay? One woodchuck, because he burrowed, the guy put a hose down it, as an entire front yard dropped, okay? I have seen raccoons go after people in their garages. I have never seen a skunk come after anybody, okay? So what I'm trying to explain is you don't want to change policy. What you're trying to change is procedure.
Okay.
And the procedure is talking about, this is what we do. I offer alternatives to them, okay? Alternatives, they're even in your list there. There's different types of traps. There's different type of noise makers. There's different types of smells, chemical smells, predator smells, lights, motion detectors. There's all different kinds of things that you can do with a skunk issue, right down to, calling the DNR. I also added in, because the first thing that comes out of people's mouth is rabies. Well, it's really interesting to know, if you look at the graph, that we've had one skunk with rabies in the state here in quite a while. If you look more at it, there was 86% of woodchucks having rabies for quite a number of years than there was of anything else coming out. Right now I'm even dealing with fox. Fox are coming in. I've had a problem trying to catch fox because I have residents that really like them. So when I set up a trap, they've been cutting them open. So I've had traps that have been destroyed because people do like them. So 880 calls were done for trapping between the time period of October 8th, 2014 and October 9th when this first came up. 880 calls for trapping. Think about that. That's over 2 a day. Our main months, June, July, and August, are when people are calling constantly. I've got kittens being born. I have woodchucks digging underneath the garage, the cement, the garden. I've got possums in the, garage. I've got raccoons burrowing in the trees, coming down, eating the vegetables, going crazy. Out of 880 calls, I had one time I accidentally caught a skunk. since we've been trying to give them alternatives, one time. That trap was out of commission for 3 months. Why? Because no other animal's gonna go into it unless you air it out and clean it. We try to not to set more than 7, because when you're looking at call volume during the summer, June, July, and August, we've hit 47 calls in one day. 47 calls between 7:30 in the morning and midnight. That's an awful lot of calls. And when we do the yearly average, we're over 5,000 in animal calls. So if you turn around and you look at, okay, instead of offering the alternatives, we're just gonna go out and set traps for them. So now you're talking, a skunk comes in, you have to clean out this trap. Now, I also added in what has happened when officers get nailed with skunk. Okay? 3 pairs of pants, 2 pairs of shoes for me that I've had to change. Officers get nailed, up to $600 to totally replace their duty belt and uniform. We have actually had, at one point, an officer had to pick up a skunk because nobody was around. He placed it in his car, and it came awake. Now, how long do you think that car was out of service? Just for the simple fact that he was trying to help. Now, when we offer alternatives to people, I can count on one hand how many people have called me for skunks and did not like the alternatives. They actually really did enjoy it because it helped them with other vermins too that they had to deal with. So when you read this and you look at it, I mean, it's not the fact that we're not willing to help them. We help them in every way possible. Okay, we just say these are the alternatives. We're trying not to set the traps. You want to buy skunk traps? We'll set skunk traps. Okay? Problem is think about how much it's going to cost the city. Because also, we get nailed by a skunk, and I'm going to tell you this, even for me, because I carry shoes. Okay, I switch them out. But if an officer goes out and ends up getting nailed by a skunk, how long do you think it's going to take him off the road to get cleaned up? You have to think about that. Okay, when there's so many other alternatives for them to do.
Sharon, can I?
Alderman Strayer? Oh, actually, Alderman Dwayne, then Alderman
Oh,
Strayer,
okay,
sorry.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
you had a
I just
question.
want to,
Yeah,
Thank you, Sharon. I need to know, how's your driving if I do ride along?
Andy, how's my driving?
He's good, but I'm not Tim Dwayne.
I won't go over the Tower Bridge. Chris, how's my
Very
driving?
good driver.
Randy?
Very excellent, no problem.
No, Sharon, would you recommend maybe contracting this out, or, you know, Bellevue has it, I think, or?
No, well, Bellevue does the same thing. They don't pick up. All your other Ashwaubenon, Alloway, Bellevue, De Pere, Freeman, all of them, they do not trap wildlife. Green Bay is very different.
Isn't there a guy out there that does it?
Sure, there's a guy out there, there's several, but I don't promote free advertising for anybody. Okay, if somebody asks me, can you recommend somebody, I can't do that.
Right.
Okay, I can tell them very calmly, your internet is your biggest tool right now, and there's so much information out there on the internet for people that do this. There's actually a guy that calls himself Animal Control, and I've had a lot of people that have ended up calling him, because I'm not in the phone book, but he is under Animal Control. And he wants your credit card number before he even talks to you.
Any other questions, Alderman?
No.
Alderman Strayer?
Yes, thanks Sharon for coming in. You know, I think you mentioned that the DNR is responsible for wild animals, all right? But you still trap animals.
I still try to help the citizens,
Right.
yes.
You know, what, even you're talking about bats here, I mean, I've heard that bats are a protected species, so you have to be
Correct.
careful with that as well. So, are there any other animals that you deal with that are specifically protected that way? You have to be
Well,
careful.
the spotted skunk is,
Spotted skunk, okay, that's another species. So,
Right.
would you,
and hawks,
you
and
know,
eagles.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, I know
But
there's,
that's what we do. Today I picked up a red tail, that's why I'm a little dirty. Okay? So when I try to explain, I'm not trying to take away a service from somebody,
Right.
I'm trying to give them an alternative. So it's not the policy, it's a procedure. You say, Sharon, you set traps for skunks. Fine, I set traps for skunks. But you're gonna end up with a bigger bill.
so what happens when you release, where do you release these normally?
I've been working enough with the Wildlife Sanctuary, we take them out to Canaries.
Okay,
And that's everything. That's woodchucks, that's muskrats, that's raccoons, possums, When I
Been a
got
little
here,
noisy
they
there
used to
lately.
let them loose and shoot them,
Yeah.
okay? And the thing of it is at that time, I went and asked when was the last confirmed case of rabies in a skunk. And we're talking 11 years ago, and at that time, it was 12 years prior to that. But every skunk was being shot. So,
Would you be satisfied if we talked about just getting a few traps for you? I mean, you don't have any skunk traps right now.
no, I don't have any skunk traps. Are we gonna hire me somebody June, July, and August too?
What was that?
An extra
She needs more help.
person,
She
June,
needs more
July, and
help.
August.
She needs more help.
Any other questions,
Well, okay.
Alderman
No,
Strayer?
that's all for now.
Alderman Scannell, then Alderman Ennig, go ahead.
If it, well, I think Alderman Storer got my question there. A couple of skunk tracks, would that be helpful as part of your arsenal to do, I mean, do the alternatives?
It would
and
be helpful. The thing of it is it's still not a guarantee.
Right,
It's
but,
still absolutely not a guarantee that I can catch them.
right. But if it adds to your arsenal, I think a couple of skunk traps aren't all that expensive. If it, and then you do what you think is.
Those are also, I think, in your package.
Yep, yep,
Right.
yep. I think it wouldn't hurt for us to expend that, and then if you feel that's the way to go, you can do it.
Okay, then do I have your word that if we come in with having to have an increase in clothing allowance or shoes, we can get that?
Well, we can recommend it from our committee, but it'd probably have to, we can recommend that to personnel to,
I'm the chairman of personnel. If it comes to personnel, Sharon will give you whatever you need.
well, let's,
Okay.
Alderman Ennig, your next step, so.
Okay, well, I'll just like to share a little bit of my experience with this, and I really believe that we probably have so many animal calls in the city that we probably could justify 2 humane officers going on each side of the river, because there are times that Sharon's off on vacation or, other types of leave that she earns, no doubt about it. Personally, I think we probably could justify, more help for Sharon. I don't know if skunks are a unique problem to Alderman Nicholson's district and mine, but I've had complaints about skunks as well. Last year, my first year in office, the first call I had was a skunk under someone's deck, and that, I understand, we determined that was a private nuisance, not a public nuisance. So, I explained it to the person that, it's a private thing, and these are the companies that that do those kind of services if you need that. The second ones I had it actually went on for quite a period of time. It was a skunk, a family of skunks that was going around the neighborhood. And it would be, and initially we give them the answer that, well, it's really hard to explain to the public that, stray cats and dogs are a public nuisance, a public problem, but skunks walking around the neighborhood aren't. That's a really hard thing to explain to the public. And it actually became quite an interesting thing with our neighborhood association. And they use Nextdoor, this internet thing. And people actually put on their reports of where they spot the skunks. It's at my house tonight, and the next person would. So you could kind of see what was going on. But from my perspective as an alderman, how could you call it a private nuisance? It was going from one house to the next. And, we were told, okay, there, and I talked to our animal control, I talked to DNR, and, I learned everything you need to know about skunks. There are repellents you can use, but, the repellent might keep it off your property, but it'll go over to your neighbors. So what are the issues? Well, DNR gave us advice that the way you do it is you make a kind of a burrow, you put the trap in that burrow, you cover it with a tarp, because apparently a skunk won't spray if it's in an enclosed environment, so you put a tarp over it, and then you bait it with cat food or tuna or something, and when you catch it, you lift the trap out, leaving the tarp over the trap, so that it won't spray, supposedly, as long as it's in the trap. And then I was told that the humane way to dispose of the skunk is to drown it. So, you know, I don't know, excuse me, I don't know whatever happened to it, but my neighborhood group took care of the skunk. They never told me what happened to it, but, you know, it does become kind of a hard thing to explain to residents. And, you know, one of the questions that people asked was, you know, and I understand the thing that if there's a skunk in a trap, another animal won't go in it. One of the questions that was asked was, couldn't you reserve certain traps just for skunks?
Thing of it is you are guaranteed 100% what's gonna go in that trap. And this year, like I said, out of the 880, I had one accidental trapping of skunk, and that was without trying to catch a skunk.
Yeah.
Now,
But that you're not going to
covering,
avoid.
every single trap is covered. Every single trap is covered, okay? Because you're more likely to catch something when they,
Right.
number one, when they don't see the bars. We put a towel on the bottom so that they don't even feel the wire as much walking in. We lay bait lines, we do everything we can to set them. Even though that trap is covered, and you pick it up, what happens with the skunk spray, if anybody's ever been sprayed by a skunk, it's like hairspray, okay? It takes one little drop. You can walk through the grass where a skunk has been and get it on your feet. And you will carry it on your shoe for a long time. Depends on how much. Okay, that's how I ended up throwing 2 pairs of shoes out, because I walked up to the trap to pick it up.
I think
Okay.
Sharon, I think Alderman Lemming's question was, could you just designate 2 traps to be used for skunks? You might get
You
something
can
else,
try.
but they're
You know,
just skunk traps.
I know that if you set a trap for something else, a skunk could
Yeah.
come in it, I understand that. But, you know, what if you just reserved some traps for, you know, skunk complaints?
That's what we're talking about, is getting
Mm-hmm.
traps just for skunks.
Right.
Okay, but this thing of they can't spray when they have their tails not up,
Oh.
you try a baby skunk.
Okay, you obviously
Okay.
have more experience than I do at it. I'm just telling you, that's my experience with skunk trap.
Caught 5 baby skunks one time in a trap. Now, small, right? Trap a little bit too big, they sprayed the entire back of the truck.
Thank you, Alderman Hennig. Jerry, did you have anything?
You guys sure have fun.
That sounds like a parks issue, I think.
Yeah, there we go, Jimmy for this department.
I like drowning them, but I'm gonna tell you something, it's not too much fun when you go to see them after they drown. You'll never do it again, believe me.
Thing of this is, if that comes out that we're going to go ahead and get rid of skunks by drowning, I won't drown a skunk.
No.
Well,
I won't do it,
Yeah.
Animal.
okay?
No, I understand that. I'm not necessarily advocating, I'm just telling you that's what I was told.
Thank you, Alderman Hennig. Anyone else here for this item? I can open the floor. Otherwise, Sharon, did you have anything else or any other questions for Sharon? All right.
Are
thank
you riding with me?
Let me
Yes.
schedule that. I've done many a ride-alongs, Chair.
Okay.
Sharon, do you go after 4:30 at all? Because I work full-time. Otherwise,
I have-
like, during the day is tough.
Once I get interns hired coming back in, yeah, you can ride with an intern.
All right, let's get back to
All
skunks.
right.
You can work here.
yep. Arrange those later.
It's worth it, though. It's worth it anyway.
Yep.
All right, well, what
It
are
is.
your wishes?
I make a motion to buy 2 skunk traps, and for the discretion of the humane officer to use as she, he, whoever it is, sees fit.
There's a motion by Alderman Scannell
Second.
to authorize the purchase of 2 traps. I'm sorry, the rest I didn't.
Well, I don't know if we don't need the rest.
Do we need to also authorize future replacement of destroyed clothing? Did you want that as part of that, or?
Should that go to personnel? I mean, are they gonna get
Send it to
upset if we?
personnel, I mean, it's no
Yeah.
different than the police department. If your uniform is
Yeah, I,
Spend.
I did a rough- I did a rough-
tainted, don't you have an allowance?
Yeah, well, I did a rough estimate. Our allowance is $575.
Per person?
Per person.
Okay.
I wear $1,128. My daily uniform is
Okay.
$1,128.
But maybe we could boil that down just the clothing. I know the
bulletproof
humane
vest
officer,
is the main thing.
absolutely,
Yeah,
and the utility
750
belt.
bucks.
Gentlemen, I'm gonna just bring it back to
I think we
the
can
attorney.
boil that down.
For purposes of this
Tomato sauce.
committee, purposes of this committee, would it be good to just stick with the traps and refer to the uniforms, or can we just take
Refer
care
it
of
to
all of it?
personnel.
Prob-
Yep, yep.
We'll take care
Can
of
we
it.
use the traps even here? I mean, we really don't have any, we're not finance.
Oh, I
I
wonder.
think we should
Send that to
probably
finance
refer that
also.
as well.
Okay. Well, there's a
We
motion
can
by
make our
Alderman
suggestions.
Scannell,
Discussion.
second by Alderman Dwayne to approve the purchase of 2 traps.
Discussion.
Should we put it to finance? Should we change that motion
I
to?
think that's probably wise. I mean, we're gonna endorse it and send it to finance because they have the purse strings.
Sure.
So the motion is to refer to finance, purchasing 2 skunk traps for humane system.
And then did you want the replacement of the damaged clothing too?
For that, another, with 2 different motions,
Oh, we can all do one.
even though it's going to 2 different places?
I think it's all going to finance.
Oh, I thought it'd go to personnel, the clothing.
Go to finance.
I don't think we're looking to increase
Finance?
their,
Send it to personnel. We can always tweak it at council.
So then 2 motions.
I'd give 2 motions. It's 2 separate items. You got clothing and equipment. So that's what
all
I
right,
would.
fair enough. The first motion by Alderman
That's what I
Scannell,
would do.
second by Alderman Dwayne is to
Thank you.
approve the purchase of 2 traps and send that to finance.
Right.
Endorsement, any discussion on that?
Second for discussion, just real
Discussion,
quickly.
Alderman Dwayne.
2 traps, are they gonna go right to Sharon?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not gonna go to the mayor or
So if they
anything.
go, get a call at 10 o'clock at night, does somebody go out there with the trap?
Oh, it'd be just like how she would, I'm guessing how you'd handle a raccoon. You get the complaint, you know, if it's available, you get it on the
Go to
list.
the
and-
residence,
Yeah.
drop it,
I-
and go,
That would be, that would be Sharon's
I think we can
expertise.
let, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure she
She'll
knows how to
probably try
use it.
other methods first, and if those don't work, then try the.
okay?
So where are we at?
We have a motion and
And
a
a
second
second.
to
Well,
approve 2. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Second motion.
Motion to refer to personnel, the increase in clothing allowance for those who may be sprayed.
damage.
Motion to refer to finance, or to personnel, the issue of the clothing replacement.
Clothing replacement for,
Okay. Motion by Alderman Scannell,
Second.
second by Alderman Steuer, discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
No. 3-1, Alderman Dwayne opposing. All right.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
I was second, unless you had it.
I second.
Oh, Alderman Steuer, okay. All right, I think we're on our last item. Number 9, appeal by Michael Andrews, the denial of his public vehicle operator license application. And I'll have our sheet here, attorney.
The law department recommends denial based on the record that I passed out to the committee.
Captain, anyone add to that, or?
We agree with the law department's assessment.
Basically, the record here is, looks like it started back in 1980 with a felony robbery, some forgery, 7 years of prison, 84 resisting obstructing an officer, 89 damage to property, disorderly conduct, resisting an officer, 92 false imprisonment, a felony, 18 months in jail, felon possession of firearm, 99 armed robbery, felony, 24 years in prison, released, looks like a month and a half ago, and operating after revocation. Anyone here for this item?
Aye.
Okay.
Motion to open the floor.
Motion by
Second.
Alderman Steuer, second by Alderman Scannell to open the floor. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. I just need your name and address, sir.
Michael Andrews, 1040 Nicolay Drive.
Mr. Andrews, floor is yours.
You know, most of these crimes that you're talking about happened a long time ago. I'm a changed person, you know, I'm trying to get a decent job, I want to work for a living. Is there anything I can do to change your mind about getting my driver, getting these license so I can get to work?
Where would you be working?
Tundra Valley Cab Company, I believe Jerry Van Stratton owns it. He's ready to hire me right now.
Any questions?
I have a
Mr. Andrews,
question.
Alderman Steuer?
Thank you for coming in, Mr. Andrews. Do you have any letters of recommendation from anybody?
Well, I did 16 years in the DOC. I had no major tickets while I was in there. I had a couple of minors. I'm an exemplary prisoner there. I'm doing great out here. My PO has got no problem with me.
Well, I do look at the record, it's 1999, it's 16 years ago. Of course, you were in prison for how long? Something like
16 years.
16 years. So.
Like I said, I've had no major tickets in there. I was a good prisoner, you know. Did what I was supposed to do, stayed out of trouble. And my PO's backing me 100%. She's been right there for me.
Any more questions, Alderman Sawyer?
That should do it for now, thank you.
Alderman Dwayne, Scanlon? Alderman Dwayne?
You don't have anything from your PO, you said?
No, I didn't bring anything from my PO. I didn't think I really needed. I can give you her name and phone number, or maybe not. I got her phone number, I think, in my phone, so. But she's been backing me through everything. I do an AODA on the weekends. I've got my regular driver's license. I paid for all the assessments, everything. I've taken care of everything, like I said.
How old were you in 1980?
1980, I was 22 years old.
22.
Let's see, Mr. Anders, I think this committee's always been very fair on second chances and really trying to ascertain if somebody's gonna be a problem or not, because there's a certain level of trust, whether you're serving alcohol or running a cab, and
Yeah.
I mean, you haven't had anything for a long time, but that's because you
I've been out for over 2 months. I haven't tested drops since I've been out. I'm not a drinker anymore.
in 2 months, you can understand isn't a long time.
But like I said, I have a job waiting for me. He's willing to hire me right now. And it's a job.
But you could probably see from the other side of the table where you usually like to see a year or more of not having any issues,
In the world.
you know, outside prison. That,
2.5 months, I haven't had any kind
Understand.
of, I haven't even been stopped.
have you applied anywhere else other than a cab company? I mean, have you
Oh, I've been
looked
trying to
elsewhere?
get a job, but I mean, I know I've got a job right now. A lot of people don't want to hire felons, you know, I mean.
But-
I'm not blaming anybody, this has always been my fault, what I've went through my life, you know.
Well, there's some pretty serious ones, armed robbery, you know,
Yeah.
possession of, the weapon, a lot of disorderly conducts and obstructing officers and false imprisonment. I'm not sure what that is, if you could explain that. You kidnap someone, or?
No, I didn't, I actually put my old lady, was all pissed, all drunk, flipping out, I put her in the car, took her home, got her home, and I left her there and I went back to my parents. But somebody at the cat at the bar seen me putting her in my car. But I took her home, dropped her off, she went to court, even wanted, telling him right out, I did nothing but save her life, because it was 4 miles from home, we lived out in the country, so we were just gonna let her walk.
Alderman Dwayne has a question for you.
Michael, in 1980, you had a robbery felony. How many years did you sit in prison for that?
I just about 4 on that one.
4?
Yeah, I was out for 9 years, I held a steady job for 9 years, roofing.
And then it appears 19 years later, you did another armed robbery, which you just got out for.
Yeah.
What could you say to convince us that you wouldn't do this again?
I'm not a drug addict anymore, I don't drink no more, I'm trying to straighten my life out. I ain't got much life left. I'm 57 years old, I ain't got much life left.
I hope not. I hope you do.
Yeah, I'm trying to be the best citizen I can.
Do you have any family right now, kids, anything,
I have a son.
Support.
I have a son out in Vegas, and I have a mother, elderly mother here that I help take care of. I'm living with her, staying with her, helping take care of her. She's 86.
Alderman Stoyer?
Like I said, Mr. Andrews, I'd feel more comfortable if there were letters, that, I don't know if you were aware of that, but to have a letter from your parole officer, from anybody that could speak to your person, the good qualities that you may have. Even though it's been 16 years, I'm having a hard time, whenever there's a felony, we need to be very careful. Granted, we do give second chances, but, these aren't misdemeanors, these are felonies. And I know you served time for them, you already paid your due diligence, but now the fact that you're out, now you're coming before our committee, and we're always talking about responsibility and accountability. And, the chance we take is that if we trust you, and then a year from now something happens, it falls on us. And the citizens of Green Bay are looking to us to make those decent decisions. So it's nothing personal at all. But at this time, I agree with Alderman Worry that, I think that we need another year. I don't feel comfortable right now, so I won't support this.
How am I supposed to get a second
Mr. Andrews,
chance?
one moment. Any other questions for Mr. Andrews? Otherwise,
No,
we can
then we can talk.
discuss it up here. Any other questions?
I do.
Okay.
Again, Mike, thanks. Where did these all take place? Was it in Green Bay, these robberies?
The last one was Pulaski.
Pulaski. And the first one?
That was in Green Bay.
Oh, it's okay. In 80, where was the robbery? What?
It was on Military Avenue, Military and 7th, I believe, or 9th.
Could you explain what you did?
I went in there and asked for drugs.
Asked for drugs?
Yep, I had a drug problem.
Was it in a residence?
No, it was a drugstore.
Okay, and then in 99, what happened there?
That was a drugstore also.
Okay, thank you.
All right, with no other questions, anything else you wanted to add before we're going to talk about it as a committee and then decide? Anything you wanted to add?
Everybody's always talking about a second chance, but nobody ever wants to give me a second chance or even the first chance to get through this. I mean, I'm trying here. I mean, it's a long road, and I've been climbing out of it for quite a while now, and that including in prison. If you check my prison record, you find out it's bad, a real good prison record compared to what most people have in there. I didn't associate with the wrong crowd in there. I'm not associating with the wrong crowd out here.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. Anybody else here for this item? All right, without objection, we'll return up here and what are the wishes of the committee?
Well, the problem you realize is that it is against the state law. There's a state law that says we cannot issue a license for anyone with a felony. And the way we've always interpreted that law is as it relates, the felony as it relates to the job. And the way we've always been able to do our second chances is if there's a long time span, we could say, well, it no longer relates. But seeing that long time span was mostly in prison, it makes it trickier, much more difficult. I mean, we very much have to respect that state law. So the only thing I could, maybe how others feel about this, if his PO wrote a letter and included his prison record, would that be?
Well, I mean, this will have to go to council anyhow.
Right.
So I feel more comfortable to weigh in to the entire council. I mean, I kind of have my feelings about this case, but I would normally, you want to do your work at committee level, but I think this is one of those cases that might demand just a little bit more. So I'm willing to let council deal with it.
Alderman Zadisky?
Add to the list, I would like to see his job offer or recommendation from his future employer that he says he has coming. And,
No, I mean, we
and
need-
I agree with what Alderman Stewart's coming up with. It's a tough one, guys. It really is. And you don't want to take anybody's livelihood away, but at the same token, you can be judged too, so.
Thank you, Alderman. Anything else, Alderman Steuer? All right, Alderman Dwayne?
I also concur with all the aldermen that spoke. It's only been a short period since he's been out. And if he can get a cachet of information from other people, I would recommend he bring that to the full city council for review.
Speaking for me, it's just too much. It's a big, long history. Not enough time after you've been out of prison. So I'm not gonna feel any guilt about this. I know I didn't do it to you, you did it to yourself. So for me, it's an easy one.
Well, I'll make a motion that if you can bring a letter from your PO, and it includes a recommendation, and she also, or he, your PO, also looks into your prison record and can confirm that your time in prison was served without any problems, and a letter from your prospective employer recommending you for the job. So 2 letters recommending you from the job, your employer and your PO, not only since you've been out, but your PO would also have to provide us with information from your prison term. Then I would make a recommendation on those conditions. This is to deny, right? So, or he's appealing, so that we accept his appeal.
So there's a motion by Alderman Scannell to accept the appeal with the conditions of the various things we
2
just said.
letters.
Okay. Is there a second to that?
I would second that.
Second by Alderman Steuer, under discussion. Alderman Steuer, anybody?
I second it.
Now, this is going to council next week, so there's 4 of us here, there's 8 more aldermen, 2 are here right now. I would suggest you come next Tuesday at 7. It's gonna be before the full council, and I guarantee it'll be discussed. And you can, if you can get those letters that Alderman Scannell asked for, that would help. We're gonna vote on it here, but it'll be talked about again next week, I guarantee it.
The letters.
Alderman Wisbisky?
Could I say one more thing,
Sure.
in lieu of what actually happened tonight? Would somebody please keep tabs on the man that he's coming there, so they could probably pull that.
Right, I'll-
Put it forward in the agenda at
Yeah.
the city council.
Yeah, we will.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. Those in favor of approving the appeal?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
No.
Nay.
Well, that
Oh,
failed.
I failed.
Well,
These
but
still
the
can
fact
come
that it
back
still
to
goes
full
to
city
council.
Yeah, we can still come back to city council.
We voted it down 3-1. However, this can be brought back up again next week at council if you so wish. If you brought some of those items with you and you thought it might help you.
That would-
Because there's 8 more aldermen, okay? So I'll leave that up to you.
But just, he wouldn't really bring those to the office, he would just bring those to council.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And if you had copies for each one of us, that would be good.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Motion by
Second.
Alderman Dwayne,
I
second by
have
Alderman.
a, sorry,
Oh.
I have a number 10 on my agenda.
Is that on the second page?
Really?
I haven't amended, I must have an amended
Oh,
one.
yes,
Yeah.
there it is. Yes.
And this is a request by Alderman Nicholson for council to draft resolution restoring zoning control of cell
You are
towers.
correct.
Oh.
Yeah.
Are we gonna do that one?
Yeah, that one actually, could I?
Was there enough public notice on it, or does there need to be?
I called in yesterday.
24 hours.
Sure.
They added, yeah. A request by Alderman Nicholson for council to draft a resolution restoring zoning control of cell towers. It used to be in the past, if you want to put up a cell tower, the neighborhood got its say, our planning department got its say, the alderman got its say, if it was a fit or not. And then the state changed it where they can put them wherever they want, however they want. And so Alderman Nicholson would like a resolution drafted asking the state to change
Motion to
that.
approve the resolution
No,
draft.
I got no problem with that, they ain't gonna do it, but I got no problem with it.
So a motion by Alderman Dwayne,
Second.
second by Alderman Scannell for staff to draft a resolution with Alderman Nicholson.
Perfect. Thank you.
And to probably bring it back here, I would imagine, so we can look at it unless we have it ready for council. Probably bring it back here.
We did a vote.
All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Motion adjourned, Scannell, Dwayne, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Motion carried.
All right.
Who made the motion to adjourn?
I need to.
Scannell, Dwayne. Oh, no, I'm dropping in a hole.
Close?
Close. Well, I wasn't into it until like the last half an hour. I like this is the first one. I was tired. I'm like, no, kid here. No, I'm more feeling more.
You know, I think I came up with where the skunks went. They went in the attic.
The problem is scared him.
That was the most